Hi, YouTube.
Hey, YouTube, Supreme special content.
All right. Y'all ready?
The codes of self-esteem. It's the codes of who you are. Are you ready?
What's up, Primos? Welcome to another episode of Primos Chidos. I am here with my amazing co-hosts, Steve and Brandon. Say what's up, y'all.
What's up? What's up? I like that my sister only ever compliments us in the interview. In the intro, I mean in the intro. But when it's like outside, when the cameras are off, she give a shit.
Oh, you think she's like fake for the camera?
I'm just kidding.
You know, I'm gonna next time I'm call them the lame boys.
I'm just trying to start drama. But go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Hi. We got a special episode today. We're gonna interview the Prima Chida.
Yeah.
Maybe we're gonna talk about some controversial shit. That'd be cool. But
I mean, half of the reason we're doing this interview is because my sister filed
a complaint to human resources.
The human resources that we never.
From her point of view, a lot of our podcasts, she says, are A and B conversations where it's just me and Steve talking. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. If you do, then
am I speaking facts or not?
Primos, why don't you go ahead and blow up the chat?
All our millions of viewers that are watching right now.
So for this segment, we're gonna
interview her only, and we're gonna force her to talk. And we asked some of our followers and fans to send in some questions for us to ask her.
This is gonna be the first and last time you hear about me.
I'm you better have like whole essays for these questions.
Oh
I want to hear.
It better not be like a 2-sentence answer.
They forced me on that.
I don't know. I mean, I guess.
Can I go ahead and be the first one?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I wasn't. Never mind. Just go.
All right. Prima Chida, Julissa, my own sister. When you're not doing this podcast, when you're not being the Prima Chida, what do you do on your free time?
I work. I mean, just
and where do you work? You see, she's like, oh my god, they always talk so much.
You guys never let me talk. Oh my god.
Oh my god, I have so much to say, and then I'm like, what do you do on your free time? I work.
I mean, I work. Okay. Cool. Where do you work?
Y'all see how they bully me, bro? That's why I don't talk.
Where do you work?
Right now I work at the Clippers. I work with the Clippers, and I also work fuck the Lakers.
Excuse me? This segment's over. Anyway,
we're moving on to our
next segment.
No, okay. So specifically, what do you do though for the Clippers?
For the Clippers, I work for their group sales team. So I work under, it's called group events. And basically it's just like reps sell experiences that they do at the stadium. So whether it's like fan tunnel, whether it's like court time, which means like they rent out like the court and they just play game. Like they can play a basketball, or they could just do free play, or they could just have a group photo. It's like those kind of things where I'm just like, I kind of lead and supervise the group. So I take them to the experience. It's me, just them enjoying the experience. I don't really sell anything to them. It's already sold to them. So I just do that. I make the event for them. I make it happen basically.
And before the Clippers, I know that you worked for the Dodgers. Which one have you preferred so far?
How'd you know that?
Dodgers or Clippers? I don't know. It's almost
know?
It's almost like I know her. It's like as if I've known her my whole
feel
life.
like you've always known her.
I feel like I've always known her. Yeah.
The Dodgers was also cool because that one was it's under the marketing and promotions team. So it's like a whole other department, which is pretty cool because you really do get to work under like how their marketing and kind of like their advertisement works. So it's really cool. I feel like Dodgers is more, it's a lot more like hands-on, even though Clippers it is the same thing, but now with like COVID it's a lot more strict, because like compared to Dodgers it's an outdoor like field compared to Staples Center. It's like indoors, so a lot of it is strict within its like its own service. And like Dodger Stadium is owned like by the Dodgers, but Staples Center, like it's basically like Clippers are renting like Staples Center for them to have like somewhere to play. So it's like not only are you working like with Clippers, but you're also working with Staples Center. because that's their own field, like that's their own like company basically. So you're working with like plus other people. But I actually like both. I never thought I was gonna be in like the sports industry. Honestly, I never saw myself there. I mostly just saw myself working like at parks because that's what I majored in, rec and park, and tourism. But I mean, sports is recreation, right? So I was kind of like, it's kind of a field. And I also really liked advertisement. And that's why in college I had done marketing, but I couldn't do math. I suck at math. Math is like the worst subject other than like history. But
That's a bold statement. That's a bold statement. Tell me
yeah,
about that.
oh my god, I always got C's in like history, and like in math I would get B's. Every once in a while I would get an A, but I just struggled with math. Like I couldn't get it. It was too much for me. So when I found out that I had to do like marketing and like financing, I was like, mm-mm. I did economics, macro and micro, and I got C's. Like I barely passed those classes because I struggled so much. I was like, nah, bro, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Like, well, mostly in class because I was like, I know I'm gonna struggle a lot in accounting and financing and like everything else with business. Um, so I was like, nah, I need to get out. And then that's when I found my major, recreation, parks, and tourism. And I loved it. Well, mostly because I wanted to do event planning. So I emphasized in event planning because I want to do, like, I want to be an event planner. And that's how I kind of got into Clippers because there's this group events. So I heard like the name events. So I was just like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do events. And it's like it's a small event, but it's still an event, right? It's still an experience. And yeah, that's how I got in, and that's how I've been like with the Dodgers now.
I know that when you first went to college, your initial major was in Parks and Rec, right? It was something else. What was your original major, and what was the path you took to eventually find what you wanted to do?
When I went to San Francisco State, and I went into with a business major, so I was business management. And the only reason I kind of chose that, I mean, I had never thought about college. I knew I was going. I just never knew what I was gonna major in. I never knew what I was gonna do. I was just like, I'm gonna just go to college. And like, it's kind of like the top thing of like, you're gonna go to college because eventually to like make your career, make something of yourself, right? So I went in with a business management because my the school counselor was like, if you guys want to get in, usually business is like an easy way in, right? So that's what she kind of said, right? And I'm like butchering the words that she said exactly, but that's kind of what she was saying. And I was like, oh, I'll just go in business management. So I went in doing business management, and I was there for like my first year, and then my second year is when I was like, I don't want to do business management. And I said I wanted to do business management just because I was like, I want to have my own business someday. Like that was my go-to when people would be like, oh, what do you want to do with that? And I was like, oh, I want to have my own business, because like my dad has his own, right? So I was like, oh, I want to do the same thing he's doing. Like he has his own business and all that. So I was just like, I kind of want to do the same thing. But eventually it was kind of like, but what kind of business do I want to have, right? And that's when I was kind of like, I don't know. I just know I want to have my own. So then eventually I was just like, okay, what else do I like to do? And then I don't know. I think I was like, I like advertisement. Like I like advertising and like marketing, but advertisement wasn't like specifically offered at San Francisco State, other than marketing. So I did my research. I was like, what's something similar to advertisement, which was marketing? It's under the same realm, so it's business marketing. And then I was like, okay, I'll take this. And then that's when I started taking like my major classes around my second year, because you could do like your GEs plus your major classes because they both count. And so I started doing that. And then I was like, nah, bro, I don't like this. Well, actually, I wanted to do I wanted to do fashion designing. So at one point I did want to do like fashion designing and merchandising, but I only liked merchandising. I didn't like fashion designing. But at San Francisco State also, like they only offer it's fashion design and merchandising, so you have to do both. And I only wanted to do merchandising, but I was like, oh, I'll try a GE. Like why not? It was like textiles, so it qualified under like science. And I took it and I was like, I hate this. I was like, I don't think I want to do fashion design. I was like, I did it though. I was like, I tried it out through a class, which is like what everyone recommends. Like you should, if you feel like you want to go into a field, try it with like a GE or like try it with a class, so that not only are you experiencing the major, but you're also like getting your shit done for like school. So that's what I did. I took textiles and I was like, mm-mm. I don't like this. I was like, I feel like it was more of like the department wise. Like a lot of them were fashion majors, and I just didn't like how everyone's attitude is like in
What
there.
do you
Like they
mean?
just think like they're all that, and like they like the way that they presented
Are
themselves
they
sometimes.
are they like snobby or
Yeah.
like
And it was
really?
like, and it was already very competitive. And for me, I was just like, bro, I'm just trying to like
But what
get
did
to
you
know
see?
it.
What did you see specifically? Did you see like people
It was like
trying to put people
yeah, it
down?
was like people and like teachers, and like it was just like it just felt like it was very intimidating at first. Well, because also I was just a second year, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just like I'm trying to go in, right? But it was just it felt very like I don't know. I wasn't getting like I felt like I belonged there. I was just like,
Mhm.
I don't feel I feel like I'm out of place. And that's why I was kind of like it was a little hard because it was like a science class, kinda, but within like fashion, which was cool. I was like, I didn't know that was a thing, right? So it was cool. And then eventually I got to meet so I started joining like clubs and organizations. And then I got to meet from like my sorority. At the time, she was just a friend. But now she's my sorority sister. I got to meet her and I asked her about like her major, and then that's when she told me that she's doing recreation parks and tourism administration, and how she's emphasizing in event planning because she wants to do like she also wants to be an event planner. And I was like, "What? You can major in that?" I was like, "I was like, what? That's a thing?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "It's a pretty cool. It's a small department. Like they're pretty cool. Like you should check them out." And she like gave me the information of like where they're located on campus, and what had happened previously was so I knew I was gonna go into like my third year, and I knew I was gonna have to start doing like my major classes. So I was in marketing, and I went to the business like office so I can be like, "Oh, what classes am I supposed to take? You know, to graduate." And all they did was they gave me a paper. They like circled like an area, and they're like, "This is what you have to do." And for me, I was kind of like, I want to like know more, like what specifically. Like you just like highlighted a section, but what does that mean? Like that didn't mean anything to me. Um, and I was just like, I was already stressing. I was like, I already feel like I don't even like the department. Like I don't like how they're not helping me like with my classes. Like it's just like it was a lot. So luckily when like I found like my friend and she told me about Rec and Park, I went to the department and I met the chair of the department, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, like these are gonna be your classes. So say you start the next semester, these are gonna be your classes, and all your classes are basically like they're for you. So say like someone they're full, I'll get you in. Like he's like because you're in the department, like you're supposed to take that class, so I'll get
Oh
you in.
wow.
He's like, so I'll help you out like to get your classes and so you can graduate like on time. And he's like, and if anything, like say you miss a class or you fail a class or something, everything just rolls over. So instead of graduating like in spring 2019, you'll just graduate summer 2019, but you'll be good. He's like, and
Mm.
if you want, you could even minor in marketing. He's like, because you already did some marketing classes, so you can like if you want to do it on the side, like you can minor in marketing. And he's like, and you can major in Rec and Park. So he legit broke down like all of my classes, and then he was like, the last semester is just an internship, like that's it. You're not taking any classes, you're just doing your internship. You'll have class maybe like once a week. And he was just like he was super nice, and he like broke it down. And that's kind of what I wanted with my marketing major. Like I wanted them to break it down to me so I can see a path of like how the rest of my years were gonna be at San Francisco State. And that's why they got me. Like I legit was like, all right, I'm
This
switching
is it.
majors.
This is
And
it.
legit he was just like, if you want, you can think about it, and then I'll sign you off, and then you can go to your department so you can like switch your majors. And then I remember I was like, I kind of already know, like I want to be here, but I was like, I'll think about it. And then I legit went the next day and I was like, all right, I'm switching majors. And he's like, all right. So then he just like he like signed it off. And then I went to my department to like show that I was switching my
And what
majors.
year were you?
This was my second year. So this was my spring semester. So I was
Spring.
just,
So this
yeah.
is literally like you're about to reach your hatch point
Yeah.
of 4 years.
Yeah, I was about to I was about to be go into my third year, going into my major classes. So I was almost done with my GEs. Like
Mhm.
by then that's why I was already taking my marketing classes, because I was already done with my GE stuff like by fall of my second year.
Mhm.
Because I was taking a lot of classes. and to like finish like all my GEs, and I knew already by like my third year I was gonna do my major classes. So yeah, so legit, I was just like, it was either that time or I was gonna stay like in marketing.
So like obviously like being a Latino woman and being especially from a Mexican household, I mean we come from literally the same household.
Yeah.
I know it's a big deal and we're TGN Latinx, so I want you to share your experience. What was it like to leave not only your home but the city that you were raised in and to live by yourself for 4 years in San Francisco?
I feel like at first it was hard, because not only am I, in at least in my household, not only am I um like a Latina in a Mexican household, I'm mostly the only girl in my own household, and I'm the middle child too. So it was kind of hard leaving because like at one side, my mom mostly, she was like, she kind of didn't want me to leave. Because I remember, okay, so San Francisco, I never thought of applying to like San Francisco. I just did it. I was like, I got they like you remember in high school they were like you could pick like 4 colleges and just apply to them, and I was like, all right. I was like I'll do San Francisco. I was like, I don't know if I'll get in. I'll just do it. I was like, fuck it. And it was my first acceptance letter to college. And I remember I was like super excited because I was like, I at least got accepted. Like that's all that mattered to me is that I got accepted to college. And I remember I showed it to my mom, and the first thing she was like, "¿Pa qué te quieres ir?" She was like, "Why do you want to leave? Like, you want to leave us? You don't like us?" Basically, that's what she said. And I was just like, "No, mom." I just applied. I was like, I just wanted to see what it would be like, right? And then it was just like hard to leave. I remember when everyone dropped me off, we all cried. We all started crying. But that was, I feel like eventually it got easier once I started meeting people. It got easier when I started making friends. Because I know my mom was more worried about the fact that I would be by myself. And I was kind of scared, but I was kind of excited too, because I was like finally gonna be away and finally be on my own. And I remember I would get homesick. But I feel like eventually I really love San Francisco. Now I like love it there, and I someday want to go back, but it was like it was also hard because of like San Francisco is a little bit predominantly like it's still a lot of like white people, right? So some of it, yeah, like how I said, sometimes it would feel intimidating, and it was kind of like solving things on my own, especially being like a first generation person. Like doing FAFSA was like fucking hard every single year. Like I was always stressing every single year.
Just like a side note, I remember since I was a third kid, I obviously whenever I had to do FAFSA, I almost basically wouldn't have to do anything because I think I would get like they have a system where I just get everything that you do.
Yeah.
So I would be like, I don't know how to do this either, but I just hit you up and I'd be like, what's the password? And like, what's this? Or if I didn't get something, I'd always be like, what does this mean? And I'd text you and you're like, it means blah, 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 blah. And you would know that shit. And I think it's crazy because I had at least like the family to be around. And then you were by yourself. So literally everything you had to do it. And sometimes I assume physically too, you probably have to go to like certain departments and stuff. For me, I was like, since you paved the way, I was just like, I just typed in our information and it was all there already.
Yeah. And I legit had to create everything. So it was just like when I would explain things to my and Papi, it was like they didn't understand what I was asking. Like when I would be like, oh, like your income or like your assets and all these things. And like me translating that to Spanish to like get them to understand, they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about sometimes. And it was just like, it would stress me out because I was like, well, yeah, I had my older brother, right? But like because of our age gap, it was just like for me, it was hard. It was just like, especially like he graduated like who knows how long ago. Like he didn't remember these things either. So when I would ask him too, it was like he kind of didn't know either. So it's kind of like I had to like figure out everything on my own. And like I would have to do like the pins and like the signatures. And then that's when I wrote everything down. And I was just like, I'm gonna just write this down because I need it for the rest of my life, basically, like for the next 4 years. And I was just like, I need to write this down. And that's why when you would ask me for pins, I was like, let me log in first. I'd be like, because it's in my journal in like high school, in my high school journal. So I was like, let me log in. So it was like those kind of things.
The you said hi journal? Yeah, me too.
That's where I saved everything. Yeah.
Me too.
I don't remember my password now, but yeah, that's where I would like have everything there because that's what they told us. They're like, you guys have access once you graduate. So I left everything there.
Do you feel like you would if you didn't go to San Francisco, let's say you went to a different school here, do you feel like you would be a different person now? Well, obviously you would be, but I mean, like, do you feel like it'd be a dramatic difference? Like, what are lessons that you learned and you you wouldn't have gained if you didn't go to San Francisco?
I feel like, yeah, I feel like because I left, I became a lot more responsible and like independent within myself. I feel like I did rely a lot on my puppy. I mean, my mom and dad are like the best people ever. Like they still take care of us, even like at this age. I mean, they do baby us sometimes, but it's
Yeah.
like my mom, she would cook for us. She still cooks for us. She cooks for us. She would do our laundry. She would clean for us. And it was like when I was finally away, I had to do those for myself. I had to cook for myself. I had to do laundry. I had to do like I had to clean up and everything. And like I'm glad that like my mom did it a lot and she would teach me a lot of it because then when I went to college, I used it and I started doing like my own cooking and all that. Even though I still can't cook that much, but I learned to do things on my own and I learned to be more responsible and independent within myself. And I think that's why like now like I feel like I am a lot more independent. And something that my mom brought up one time when I finally like was starting to like come back after like 2 or 3 years, she was just like she's just like I noticed that like she was talking to one of like her comadres and I was there and she was just like yeah like she really changed a lot. I was like my mom started saying that she's like she really changed. She's like but for the good, like she did change. She's not as shy anymore, like she talks a lot now. She's more talkative. She was like you see right now she was talking to you, she was giving like a whole conversation and like before she wouldn't have done that. And I
You
feel
literally
like
have a radio show, so
yeah.
uh-huh.
And I feel like I never noticed that until she pointed it out. And I was like, I think that's cool. I was like, that I didn't, that like I got out of that shell, right? Because I moved away, because, you know, like I was by myself. So I kind of had to learn to like connect with people. I wasn't a people person before either. Like I didn't like talking to people either. But because I left, I learned to connect with people. I learned to be a lot more open with like strangers, which before I was always scared to like open up to people because I was always like people are gonna hurt me or like something, or like I'll go through something, right? um with like friendships and like relationships and all that. So it was nice hearing that at least from my mom, because I know that for her it was a hard time to like for me to even leave, but for her to see that like it was good that I left and like I gained something good back. um it was good to see that. And I was like, wow. I was like, I can't believe my mom acknowledged that, right? That like, you know, I'm an adult now, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
she acknowledged. She acknowledged that I'm growing up and like I'm doing things on my own, which was nice to see. And it's nice to at least for myself to see, because now I can like talk to people and be more like connective to people. And like it's really nice. And I feel like if I would have stayed, I feel like I still would have just been in my own bubble. I still would have just like been home, or like I would have I feel like I would have had a harder time like departing like my family, compared to now. Like I'm like I feel like I'd be fine with on my own, you know?
Mhm.
Like I feel like I if I were to leave, it wouldn't be so hard now because I've done it before, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I still remember vividly when my sister came back from college, and it was probably like your third or fourth year, and we were eating at Applebee's. Shout out to Applebee's sponsor. Um, I remember you were telling me all your like partying stories,
Oh,
and
yeah.
my mind was literally melting. It was exploding because I couldn't believe that you were telling me, because yeah, at that time you had probably had like crazier experiences than I have had, because obviously you were away in college and you were by
Yeah.
yourself, and it was blowing my mind that you were doing all these things. And I remember I was telling you then my stories, and it was crazy how much you and me had both changed, because I felt like you had really come out of your shell
Yeah.
and done things that I wouldn't have even expected you to do. So if you had stayed, Brandon, there'd probably be like no sessions. We probably wouldn't have sessions together.
I probably wouldn't have become a pothead. The only reason I became a pothead was because I went to San Francisco and like all my friends were like potheads.
In San Francisco, everybody loves Mary Jane over there. Also, Patty with a Fatty said, "Shout out from the Bay." I guess Patty with the Fatty's from the Bay Area.
We gotta get him on the show, bro. This guy's a great fan.
Yeah, he's a great fan. I'm loving the support. He always blowing up in the comments. Go ahead and give us a question if you have any for my sister. But Brandon, why don't you go ahead and ask Julie? some of your hardball questions that you were talking about before the show.
They're not really hardball questions. They're kind of just dumb.
They're gonna put me on the spot.
I have this question, and it has like, I don't know. I'll just ask it. You'll see it. What do you think? And you feel free to answer as well, Primo Chido.
Okay.
What do you think about people?
Uh-huh.
What do you think about people who
Oh no.
who crop dog ears?
What?
What?
You know how dogs get their ears
like
things?
pippos?
Yeah, like how they get their ears
They
fixed.
cut them?
You know how they get them?
Yeah, you don't remember Chata? Remember how they would always be like, "Let's cut her ears."
What do you guys think about that? I mean, what do you think about that? Because
I feel like that's kind of fucked up.
okay, because I was gonna say a lot of people say that that's like mutilation and like it should be banned. I was gonna say like, what do you think about that?
This fool really wants to put me on the spot.
Okay, well, go ahead, Jude. Answer the question, and then I'm gonna ask you the questions that our audience actually asked.
Okay. Because you're talking about how they cut their ears, right?
So
I feel like that's kind of fucked up. I was like, why are you messing with their ears, bro? That's how they naturally came out.
You don't
Like,
think
why
it's
would you-
aesthetically pleasing?
No, it looks weird. Well, because sometimes they don't even come out nice. No, they're like kind of deformed or something like that.
If like they don't get a good guy to do it.
Well, let's say they get like the best guy in the business, just the general, like the
Best guy in
general,
the
the general. Like, what do
business.
you think about that? Like,
Imagine Chata, our old rest in peace.
Do you think people who do that
Right.
are like animal like abusers? Do you
That's
think
like
that's
cruelty, bro.
You think it's cruelty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you do that?
No, I don't. I was just asking.
Are you trying to defend
He's
them?
just thinking
Brandon?
about it.
You're just thinking about it? Just thinking about it. The how people think about it. But good answer.
Good answer. I passed the test.
What did Patty with the Patty say?
He's like,
It's
it's
a
American popcorn.
I don't know what he means by that. I think he's talking about music.
Oh,
But I'm gonna go ahead and read some of the questions our viewers asked for you.
Okay.
Brianna G. Torres asked actually 3 questions. So one of them you already kind of answered.
Mhm.
What was it like deciding to go to school in San Francisco? So I'll skip over there. She said, "Why'd you join a sorority, and what's that like?"
Why'd I join a sorority?
Yeah.
I honestly joined it. Same thing. I don't know. I was gonna join a sorority. I never even had that in my mind. But it was cool meeting. Because a lot of the sororities I met were multicultural sororities, and I've always liked learning about other cultures and just like I kind of didn't want to be just stuck in my own. I love like learning other people's cultures and like what it's about, right? And so I think that's what first caught me was the fact that there was multicultural sororities. Um, the way I got into mine, which I'm part of, which is Sigma Lambda Gamma, shout out to my sisters, was when I went to one of their events, which was an arts and crafts event. It was just like I felt very welcomed. It was just like the vibe was really nice. It was just like everyone was really nice, and it was just like I got this feeling of like I belonged, because I had like tried joining other sororities, and when I went, it felt very like forced, or I already had like a gut feeling when I would go to their events. But the only reason I started joining them was because my friends that I had met at the time, they wanted to join, so they wanted all of us. There was 4 of us. Yeah, there was 4 of us, and they all wanted to join a sorority, and they like fell in love with this other one, and I kind of was like, I'm not feeling them, but because you guys want to join them, I'll join them. And in the end, like none of us ended up joining them. So
Are you gonna say their name? Call them out right now.
Nah. Tino. And yeah, and so then my spring semester, I was just like, all right, this is my 3rd time trying to join a sorority. I was like, if I don't get in after this, like I'm not gonna try anymore. I'm like, I'm already gonna do my major classes. Like I'd rather just focus on school. And so then yeah, my spring semester of 2017, I saw them, and I passed through where they have like their tables, and they gave me like a flyer. And I remember I got to class and I was already running late, so I just grabbed the flyer and I walked away because I was like, I'm already late to class. And I remember I read the letters, and it reminded me of the first one that I tried joining my freshman year. They were just like switched around, and I was just like, maybe this is a sign. Like I should check them out. So right after class, I went back to the table, and I was like, hey, like I just want to know about your sorority and like your events. And they started like explaining to me And it was cool because now I always think back to that, and now that they're my sisters, I'm like, oh, I remember when I first met like Alyssa, and I met Joanna, and Joanna was the one who like explained to me everything. And then I went to the arts and craft event, and then it was just like, it felt nice. It felt really nice to be there. It felt like everyone was so welcoming. Comparing it to when my second time that I tried, and how I said like I just didn't feel, I had a gut feeling that I wasn't gonna enjoy it, but I still went through with it, right? Because I was like, I want to experience it, right? But this one was like, I feel like I belong here. And so I joined it, and I went through like the whole process, and I eventually became a sister. And now I love it. I love all my sisters. I have, we call them daughters. I have like twins. Shout out to them. I have seeds. So I brought in girls into the sorority. So that was nice. I was president for the chapter, and now I'm entity advisors.
Can you imagine that, bro? A woman president?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did a lot. I did a lot for them, and they've done a lot for me personally, because that's how I got it. That's how I became very social. They're the reason that like I basically broke out of my shell, and like I have a lot for them. That's why I have a lot of love for the organization because of everything that they've done for me.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was really nice. It's cool. I love it. I'm still part of it as an alum now. So it's been really nice, and meeting everyone. It's like we just instantly become like best friends, and it's really nice. We're small, you know, our chapter is really small, but I'm glad to know that I have a small family in San Francisco, you know. So it's really nice. I love it. If anyone is ever like wants to get into it, I feel like you should try it. Try it out. It's always nice to at least experience it. Just go to their events, see what it's about, you know.
I remember you tried to get me into it. You wanted me to
Yeah.
join a frat,
Yeah.
and then, but I was commuting, so I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like doing it.
I
Uh,
feel, yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
feel like at least an advice that I always gave, and I remember even in high school, this is what I heard, that if you do, if you ever feel like if you go somewhere far from home, try to join like a club or an or organization, because sometimes it's nice. That's a good way to meet people. Like how I said, like when I first moved in, the only reason I was super homesick was because like I didn't have friends, so it was like super new. I didn't know anyone there. So once I started doing like clubs and like organizations, I started meeting people, and they started showing me around like the city and like all that stuff. So it's always, I recommend that if you don't want to join a frat or a sorority, join a club, join like a different organization
Mhm.
that you feel like you're probably passionate about, because there's like so many. It could do with your major, it could do with like whatever your hobbies are. It's, I would recommend it. Even though like if you commute, you should at least still try, you know. It's really nice to like be around campus life, because it's a whole other experience of college. And I always recommend it. That's why when you were going to like and you were commuting, that's why I was like, I know you were struggling, so I was like, you should join like a club or a frat or something. Because I feel like it's nice to be in that environment with other students who are also going through the same thing as you are.
Mm.
So that's why I always recommend it.
Okay. Well, moving on to another question. Soy El Alacran said, "What is your most memorable blackout moment?"
My most memorable blackout one. I mean, I can't remember them if I was blacked out.
That's what the question says. If that's your answer,
Is that
then-
a true question? Not kidding.
if that's your answer, then that's your
Um,
answer.
Damn.
Be like, my memories were so good, I just don't remember.
I just don't remember. I'm honestly, I don't think I've ever blacked out. Honestly, I don't think I've ever
Not
gotten to
yet.
that point. Well, I don't know. Actually, I think I blacked out like on edibles.
Hmm?
Remember when I told you that okay, so my friends one time they made an edible cake, but they made, it was from home, right? So you don't know how much dosage usually
Yeah,
is
I
in
wouldn't
that.
eat that shit.
And my ass was kind of like, I just want to get high. We were going to a rave.
Okay.
And I was just like, I know everyone's gonna do drugs, right? So I was like, I kind of just I just want to do weed, right? So they had edibles. So I remember we smoked like a pen, we smoked like a baby bong, and then they had the edible cake. And I ate, like, I got a small piece and I ate it, but then the munchies kicked in. And then they had pizza, so I had like one slice of pizza, and then I saw the cake again, and I was like, hmm. kind of looks good. And so I took another chunk of it, and I took a big bite, and then that's when I was like, all right, that's it for me. I was like, that's it. And so then all I remember is that we got ready and then we got into the Uber. And I always say this. I always remember this one video. I don't know if you guys have ever seen. It's a parked car, and it's this kid, and he's like, "Why are we going so fast?"
Yeah.
That was going in my head. I was like, because I felt like the Uber was just zooming. He was like zoom and to get to like the venue.
Yeah.
And then I just remember we were inside. Like
that.
yeah, like that. And I was like, the fuck. And then I just remember the music. Everything is still a blur. Like I can't remember. I was just gone. I just remember everyone was just moving me around in the event, and then all I remember was we were outside again.
Wow.
Yeah. So I blacked out on basically like edibles and like weed.
Wow.
And never drinking though.
I mean, that's good. Okay.
Mysterious Jack says, "Hey, Primos. Hello."
Hey.
Oh, wow. Speaking of Mysterious Jacks, she has our last question for this segment.
She has a great show, by the way. You guys should check it out.
Ladies Night.
Ladies Night.
Way more popular than our show.
Yeah.
So she asked a very fun question, and we'll end the segment on this.
All right.
Who's your favorite Dodger player?
Who's my favorite Dodger player? I gotta say Mookie.
Mookie Betts?
Mookie.
He
My
failed
main
us.
man Mookie.
He
It's
failed
because
us,
he was
bro.
on his own, bro. Everyone was injured.
He
JT was injured.
He had no
you know.
Max Muncy, no
No Max Muncy,
Turner,
no
Clayton
Turner,
Kershaw.
No Kershaw. He had to hold it down for the whole team. He
No,
tried.
we
you
gotta.
know?
Who's that guy's name?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know,
I also
uh-huh.
I also like Chris Taylor. He's cool.
He fucking hit that 3 home runs in one night. We still lost though. Mm-mm-mm.
It's okay. It's okay.
The series,
We're
the World
literally
Series is
so-
going on right now, but nobody's watching that shit because Dodgers got eliminated.
Yeah.
Just saying.
They gotta beat the Astros though.
Yeah, fuck the Astros.
It's tied right now. I think it's 1-1.
Really?
Fuck the
Yeah.
Astros.
I don't watch the games, but I see
I
the
don't
results.
either.
Y'all got
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
players? I know y'all do.
Favorite players from Dodgers?
I
I
always
like
say
Mookie.
I think Mookie, but Justin Turner always has
Yeah.
a place in my heart because he's a Titan, you know.
Justin, for those of you at home listening, Justin Turner went to me and Brandon's college,
Yeah.
and so when
So
we were,
we kind of know him. a
Shout
little
it
bit.
out.
we kind of know him. We knew about him.
Shout out to college, bro.
Shout out to
Uh,
Cal
see-
State Fullerton.
Cal State Fullerton.
Titans, tuss out, motherfuckers.
Tuss
my
out.
God.
Wait, is that how an
How
elephant
does,
sounds?
how does it go? Do you remember the Titan?
No.
The stupid Titan. clap?
Yeah,
I
for-
mean the awesome Titan clap, isn't it?
It's like-
CSUF.
And then
Ah.
these are your
Um,
tuss. These are your
Good
tuss.
tuss. I've
Why
always-
doesn't it just one? Why is it
like a
two?
trunk? Yeah, that makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
That's
that
like a gator, bro.
That makes too much sense.
That's why nobody does
It's
that.
because it makes too
Yeah.
much sense.
Shout out to Mysterious Jack. She's like, Mookie's nice. Mysterious Jack's right now that you're on the chat, who's your favorite Dodger player?
I think she kind of Mookie.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she likes someone else.
Do you guys remember Andre Ethier?
Mm-mm.
You don't remember him? I remember he was like the heartthrob.
I forgot what was the name. The other guy's name.
Heartthrob.
The heartthrob. No, the other guy's name. I feel like his name was Manuel or Manny something.
Manny Ramirez.
I don't remember. I remember when I was a kid, he was like the famous Dodger.
Manny Ramirez. Yeah,
Is it?
isn't that the one that had the steroid scandal?
Oof. Then maybe.
Right. I'm tripping
What's
though,
his
right?
name? Venezuela? Fernando
Venezuela?
Venezuela?
I don't know.
He's
You know
the
what?
other one.
I'm gonna just go with
Papi
just
loves him.
Do you remember Matt?
really?
That's
Do,
one
do
Papi
you
likes,
remember
yeah.
Matt Kemp, bro?
Matt Kemp.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
I remember he was big when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think I don't know.
One of the Braves, the Atlanta Braves, who's in the World Series right now, Jock Peterson. He was a former Dodger.
Oh, yeah.
Cock Peterson. No, this is
Bruh. I can't believe you said that.
What?
He really-
Okay.
On air, bro. On air. He really said
Okay.
that on air.
Brandon, why don't you go ahead and introduce our next segment?
Wait,
The
but
classy
before we
Manny.
before we do,
The classy
Mysterious
Manny?
Jack said I liked watching Verdugo play, but they sent him to Boston.
Fuck Boston.
The,
Oh
the
my
Boston Red Sox. How about them Red Sox?
Yeah, they lost too, just like us. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have any beef with Boston. I just thought it'd be funny. I like stirring the pot.
Oh yeah, she said. Oh yes, Matt Kemp was a hottie too. LOL.
God.
I guess he was a
Wow.
heartthrob as well.
They all are.
But
all-
honestly,
they're all
Dodger
pretty
players,
handsome.
Dodger players are pretty handsome.
Whatever happened to that one guy?
Who?
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
Do you remember?
Jose?
Victor?
No, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Gonzalez. Don't he'd always come out to like Mexican ass music.
I
lo-
think it was Victor Gonzalez. No, the pitcher.
No, he
Oh.
wasn't a pitcher. Anyways,
No,
No,
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I used to go to
The
Dodger
classic
games a
one.
lot when I was a kid.
Oh, for real?
My mom really likes baseball.
Oh, really?
She used to play.
Really? Wow.
She tried to get me to play
Okay,
baseball when I was
okay.
a kid. Adrian Gonzalez. Wow, serious?
Oh.
That's why she's got the show.
That's why she makes the big bucks.
That's why they pay her.
That's why they pay her the big bucks.
Our next segment is we're gonna talk about some controversial stuff. So tune out if you're a weak bitch. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead and play it, Jule.
For Fox News.
It's time for
Too hot for TV.
That was really good timing. That was really good timing.
And who says that? And
Who says
that's
that?
Dave Chappelle,
Who said
who's
that?
in a lot of hot water right now.
Why though? Why? What do you do?
Because
What do you
of
do?
his hilarious special.
What?
Well, a lot of people are mad.
Well, I mean, I
It
think
is
it was
really
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a lot of people.
Explain.
Okay.
Explain
So what's
myself?
going
First
on?
of all,
So what's going
Yeah,
on?
okay, context.
if you haven't seen the special, go watch it because I don't think you can have an opinion unless you watched it. And I don't think it's fair to have an opinion unless you watched it because right?
Mhm.
Am
No,
I
that's
tripping on
true.
that one? 'Cause I feel
Facts,
true.
facts, bro, facts.
because I feel like the people who talk about it the most haven't seen it. 'Cause
Yeah.
he goes out of his way to address what they're talking about, but he brings up the LGBT community a lot, especially the trans community. And he jokes, because he's a comedian. Who
Mhm.
would have guessed that he would joke about it?
Mhm.
But a lot of people are calling him transphobic. There was a Netflix strike or like
Yeah.
a lot of they were saying like get it off the
A walkout, yeah.
the network and whatever. And recently he addressed it, and he's in like a clip. What's he do? He's making a movie, or he made a movie.
He made a movie.
And I think he said like a lot of studios were like, we don't want to touch it, like
Mhm.
because of all the controversy.
Yeah.
But Netflix is obviously like, no, it's cool. We'll show it to you.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of people are just outraged at him. And what do you
Well,
think?
I thought it was interesting because he said that his problem isn't really with like the people of color and the LGBT. It's more of like he literally straight up says the whites. I think it's important that you do see the special. Because I think if you hear people, you see the headlines and you hear people talking about it, it's really easily to take what he's saying out of context. Because I know people bring up the thing of how he said like, oh, he's a turf, or how he beat up like a lesbian woman. Like out of context, that sounds horrible. But if you watch his special, you understand the context, and he's not straight up saying like I'm proudly like homophobic or transphobic. He's saying it mostly sarcastically, and he's also his story is more of like a comedian like fabricated story where he's not really inciting anybody to take violence against
Mhm.
LGBT people. I think what to me is the most eye-opening is that he calls what's gonna happen after the special airs. Like in the actual special, he says like people are gonna be mad, people are gonna take this like super out of context, and he's right. And like a lot of people who are outraged like refuse to see the special, and like then like it doesn't make any sense to me because you need to watch it. It's something that you could tell he put a lot of thought into. He says it's basically like the catharsis of every single Netflix special he's ever
it's
made.
called The Closer. I think it's his last one. He said it's his last special for a while.
Mhm.
And also when he addressed it, and it's like a little mini clip. He was talking about that. He said he will come and talk to like people about it, but he has terms like you have to watch it, and you have to go to a place and a time of his choosing, right?
And then you have to say that girl Kathy something isn't funny.
There's like this, I forgot her name, Kathy Hudgens or something like
Kathy
that.
Hudgens, yeah.
Something
Who
like
is
that.
she? Do you know who she is?
She's a comedian.
She's a comedian.
She's a comedian. I hear a lot of comedians say that like they don't get like the
Why he said that?
no like her like act. You know what I
Oh.
mean?
What did she do? Is she like an LGBT
I'm
comedian?
probably gonna don't quote me because I didn't do that much research. I kind of just looked her up.
Look
and
at
I
her.
think,
Bruh, don't say this. You really said that.
well, I just kind of like Googled her, and I think from what I got is she kind of jokes a lot about like she's part of the community, so she has a lot of jokes in that sense, and that's all I could gather.
Mm.
But I mean, I think it's kind of weird that I don't know, because I feel like a lot of people are like missing the point of what he's talking about. Like I feel like I thought it was really like interesting that he brought up the baby thing, as much as people joke about it, where it's like that's such a what an unfortunate kind of, I don't know how to really articulate it, but where he's kind of talking about how like
Example. It's an
What
example.
was
well he's talking
the-
about the
a
baby
real life
quote?
example.
What
Where
was
he's
the
ta-
quote?
he was
that
saying he said the baby literally killed a person, like has killed a person, and you know
It
he
didn't.
obviously, I mean, I think it was like ruled self-defense or something
Yeah.
like that, but he was saying not a single thing happened to his career. Everybody was still booking him, people
Yeah.
wanted his albums, all that.
Mhm.
But he said some like, you know, some ignorant things about the LGBT community, and immediately
Yeah.
everything was swiped from under him. And he was kind of addressing how like to him it's like why it's like people don't really touch black issues in the same way that they touch LGBT
Mhm.
community issues. And he's talking about how also like I mean obviously he's talking sarcastically and
Yeah,
jokingly,
yeah.
where he's talking about how like
He
he feels
basically-
jealous, right? He's
yeah.
like, I don't get like that movement's going so well, and yet
It's
Jeff-
taking them like 400 years.
Yeah,
and
for
it's still like, I mean, like if you go on TikTok, it's like horrible what people say about things like George Floyd and the Black
Yeah,
Lives Matter movement and all that
Yeah.
stuff, where people are like George Floyd was obviously murdered. But in TikTok, people don't like care. They're like, ah, well, he was a criminal and all this, and it's like, you know, it's just I think it's important that he addressed the how differently the issues are treated.
Yeah.
And I think he was kind of getting at the point that it's because part of LGBT issues are like white issues, because
Yeah.
there's white people in that community. So
Mhm.
he's like, that's probably why they get taken more seriously.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm misinterpreting it, that's another thing.
No,
but, you
I
know.
mean, I think you're completely right, because that's one of the things that also annoys me about the special, is that sometimes I see people like Dave Chappelle needs to learn that like black trans lives matter, black lives like blah blah things matter. But that's how I know they haven't watched the special, because he specifically says that like he brings up the examples of the feminist movement back
Mhm.
I think second wave. He's
Mhm.
talking about second wave
Yeah.
feminism, right? And how back then it was mainly like a white woman movement,
Yeah.
that it would almost
that they didn't-
separated
they
black
didn't-
women.
They didn't want to. What's her name? I forgot.
The
and
A9 woman, right?
Yeah, ain't I one, but her name I forgot.
Julie, do you know?
Right? No.
No, not Harriet Tubman.
It's
What's
like
her name?
Till, no?
It's no, that's Emmett Till.
Emmett Till.
That's,
Oh yeah,
that's,
yeah.
I think her name is like Betsy. Well, it just goes to show that I can't
I'm gonna
even
look it up.
think of the
I'm gonna look it
name. That it's like,
Because
you know
I
what I
remember
mean? It's,
her before.
but either way, I also like what he brought up about Muhammad Ali, and I'm a big boxing fan, so I really like
Oh
Muhammad
yeah,
Ali.
yeah.
what's his name?
What was her name?
Sojourner Truth.
Sojourner Truth.
That's the person who said, "Ain't I a woman?"
Is it?
I don't think that's the one. Google "Ain't I a Woman."
Yeah.
Really? No, that's a book. I think that he's talking about a speech. Well, in the
gonna
meantime,
look it up. Yeah.
I was talking about how I liked what he brought up about how he was like, why is it easier for Bruce Jenner to change her name to
Oh,
Caitlyn
yeah.
Jenner than it was for Muhammad Ali to change his name from Cassius Clay?
Mhm.
I thought that was I don't know. I really like that quote, because it's like it's a very interesting demonstration of how it can, like, it seems like people don't give a shit about black struggles. I mean, I think Muhammad Ali was a great man and he accomplished a lot of shit. And it's interesting because, like, yeah, there was a lot of outrage. No, I don't even think there was really that much outrage. It was just kind of people saying it was kind of weird when Bruce Jenner transitioned.
Mhm.
But when Muhammad Ali was like, call me Muhammad Ali, not Cassius Clay, everybody was
Yeah.
like losing their minds. Sojourner Truth? Oh, I guess so. She said, ain't I a woman? But what were you saying about that?
I was just saying that like he brings that up to show that a lot of the times people in these progressive movements, a lot of the times it becomes very centric in terms of white Americans.
Yeah.
And he feels like as if his beef, I guess you could say, with the LGBT community is mainly with white LGBT members. He specifically says point blank says, my problem isn't with the LGBT, my problem
Is with
is
white
with the
people."
whites. Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
said that he's mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Like, he's always said that. He's always said, like,
Uh.
my problem has always been with the white.
Yeah.
he
And
says
he
that.
doesn't say it in a way of like prejudice or
Mhm.
racism. I think a lot of what he says is very valid.
Yeah.
it's true. Like he said, how is it possible that in America you can kill a black man,
And
but like you
nothing
can't if
happens.
you hurt an LGBT member's feelings, you get more canceled. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're more likely to be like repercussed. It kind of in a way he's kind of saying like there's more important issues, there's more important social issues
Mhm.
that we have to address first that like impact not only a greater amount of people but have impacted them for
Yeah.
like hundreds of years.
Mhm.
But yet we choose something that's like something progresses so much mainly because it has a large group of white
Mhm.
leaders and icons. And like of course like this doesn't mean you're transphobic, but I think it's important to address it because it is hypocritical in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. I mean, how can you, I mean, of course, if you're LGBT, you're born that way.
Yeah.
But like, if you're like black
You're
or like,
also
yeah, you're born that way, and not only that, like, you can't hide. You
Mhm.
can't. You're not a closeted black person.
yeah.
Like you're
Mhm.
born physically with that appearance. You're born with all the things around it.
And like I don't know, I personally like I hate talking like this in the sense of like it sounds like you're kind of saying not you, I mean, but I mean it sounds like you're suggesting that some things matter
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
others, like some issues are greater than others. I don't, that's not what he's doing. He's just saying that it's a like it's really
It's
unfortunate that
crazy that people don't realize it.
like
you know?
people don't really don't give a shit about black issues, but they
Yeah.
give a shit about an issue that's obviously bad, but they give a shit about it because there's white people who are being affected, is what he's saying. And I think he also addressed in like the mini clip that he posted was he said it's not about, again, it's not about the LGBT community, it's about like, what did he say, social interest or something,
mhm,
or business interest, or and what he can and can't say.
mhm.
And even like removed of the problem, I've always thought like I don't understand the issue about not being able to joke about some things. Like I understand there's a time and a place. Like if
Mhm.
somebody's
Mhm.
like, let's say somebody's grieving about something, you're like, haha, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
But it's weird because Joe Rogan mentioned this, and I know a lot of people dislike Joe Rogan, but I feel like he also brings a lot of, you know, it's important to hear everybody's perspectives, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's something he's good at, is bringing out a lot of people's different perspectives, irrespective of where they're from. But
And I feel like the other reason he's getting a lot of hate is because of like how high rank he is, like everyone knows him, right? But I remember when I watched the special, the whole time I was like, he's a comedian. Like that's what his job is.
To
His
make
job
people
is
laugh.
to make people laugh. And I understand that like what he can say might seem like a lot because of how famous he is, but it's like you can take it, you can just watch it, and it's his opinion.
yeah,
It's not really like he's so powerful that like it's gonna move everything. It's just like he's just a comedian. Like this is his own opinion.
it's his
Like
craft, it's an
yeah,
art form, but
like
not
how he said, it's my art. It's what I make. And that's why I'm like sometimes you can. It doesn't have to be so serious. Like it doesn't have to be taken so seriously. But
but
I mean, what he does say is serious because it's like it's like he's standing up for like the black community. And I feel like people still just put them like they're there, and you know how the whole movements have happened, but it's like there's still a lot more to do for them. And it's like, and I understand his frustration. And I understand that like what he just wants to be seen, he wants to be heard. And that's what we all want to do.
But like going back a little bit to what Joe Rogan said was like he was saying like it like I was saying like I don't think it's weird to me that you can't joke about certain things, because it's like he was saying that it implies that a lot of jokes are made with hateful and malice intent. You know what I mean? And that's not true. It's
That's true.
you know what I mean? And I feel like people, I don't like be this guy like you clearly don't understand what a joke is. But like I feel like people are kind of losing like what a joke actually is. It's not like it's not
It's like
people
that.
think it's like a secret like sneak diss where it's like it's turning it's like a I think it's an incredible gift to be able to turn something that's dark into something that people can take not so seriously, because I think life's kind of absurd, right?
Well, because
You gotta
I've always thought it's like it does the opposite, trying to protect and kind of shelter
Mhm.
certain things and certain topics. I feel like you give them so much power
Yeah, I
that
agree.
like it only hurts it more when people talk about it. But if you're open enough to make jokes and like comedians can talk about these certain things, and like because Dave Chappelle 100% is not transphobic or homophobic. He's not. He's just plain and simple, just making jokes.
Well,
Mhm.
he brings up even like I thought it was a really powerful story when he brought up his friend Daphne, who is a fellow comedian and friend of his that was trans, and she stood up for him, and the entire internet like bullied her, and not too long later she took her own life.
A week
And
later.
a week later, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's to me it kind of seems like people. I don't understand. It seems like it's more that people care about it. Like people care more about the appearance of caring. Like I care about
Mm.
this so much that I'm gonna tell you everything and like rip you to shreds. And it's like that. I don't know. I'm probably not articulating it right, but I don't know. That kind of stuff is it's weird that they want to hold him accountable for him saying stuff, but you see the effects of what they're doing. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that that's the cause of why she may have taken her life. There may have been other issues, but I
Mhm.
like he says, I can't imagine that was doing her any favors either. You know what I mean? Like, where's the accountability in that? That you guys are just bullying people to like that's a thing that people say where that's an argument that the LGBT community always makes is that these jokes are like they hurt a lot of people in that community and it makes them they have issues. So but it's like look what you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
It's like
yeah,
contradicting.
yeah, it's like I don't know. It's
No, I get what you're saying, man. 100% of what I think that I'd want everybody to see
yeah.
his special because I think it's significant in terms of what year and what kind of state
Mhm.
the
That
United States
people
is
are in.
at. Yeah, because what he says is kind of, at least to me, made me be like, holy shit, like I can't believe he's really saying all this.
Mhm.
Not because I think, well, yeah, some of the stuff could come off as offensive, but like mainly because he has the courage to say a lot of his
Yeah,
own
I
opinion
think it's very courageous,
without
very
yeah, without feeling at all like
scared.
scared. Yeah. And I feel like in recent years censorship has become kind of like
It's really
has
weird.
become like less of the government's job and more
And
of
more
the
the people.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's so weird because it works. Like I remember being in high school and it was like it had been around, but it was still kind of like maybe I was just a dumb kid where I was like, fuck that, I'm gonna be edgy and like funny and shit. And I would say like shit that was really out of pocket.
Yeah.
And for good reason, I could see why people would be angry at me for saying some of the
Mhm.
things I used to say. Um, but at the same time, it's also like it's weird how kind of like scary it is now. In that you can't like even joke about stuff. Like even if it's like lighthearted and value, like, oh, well, how would that sound? Or how would
Mhm.
that it's like almost people aren't allowed to be themselves, like I don't know. It's weird that there's this constant state of like having to be perfect. Like because depending on whatever you say, you can get dragged, canceled, lose your job. I mean, he brought that up in the special about taking a man's job is akin to taking his life because like I remember when Kevin Hart was going to host the Oscars, but then he had a tweet or something about
He said,
he said I think his son had like a girl's
yeah, it
dollhouse,
was an old joke from like years ago.
2007 or
Yeah.
something like that, and he's obviously joking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, but it was his dream to always host the Oscars, and the Oscars kicked him off.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It's weird that people do that. I don't.
It to me it feels like um it is specifically because Dave Chappelle says like he feels like a lot of the LGBT issues are white centric. Um, to me, like listening to that story about Kevin Hart, or like listening to the baby or Dave Chappelle being like quote unquote canceled
Mhm.
for what they're saying, to me, I see why Dave Chappelle gets mad because it does feel like it's unfair. Like it's another thing of a he says a joke, and this is a really racy joke that he says, but he's like he felt like he was finally catching up and learning how to play the white man's game, and
Mhm.
finally like evening the playing field, and all of a sudden the white man was just like, I feel like a girl now.
You must treat me as such.
Yeah, and you must treat me as such.
And
And then he's like, and so he was like, I learned how to play by their rules. I learned how to play their game, and then they changed the rules.
yeah.
And to me, that's like I understand that frustration because it feels like you can't win. Like, and he was talking about his film that nobody wants to put
Touch
their
it.
touch anymore. And the film, I think it's about black issues,
I
right?
think it's about the. I think it's a behind the scenes of him making the closer. And of course, because it deals with a lot of things, he probably does a lot of research and stuff like that, or like talks to people. I mean, I don't know. I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it I don't know. I get his frustration. Again, it's like it really does seem like people only care about it because there's a white issue. You know what I mean? I'm not like saying like you shouldn't care about it, because I do. I think a lot LGBT people go through a lot, and it's really unfair because, you know.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like the other part that for me that always stood out to me that he said was like, I understand your struggles.
yeah,
He's like to like the LGBTQ community. He's like, I understand your struggles of being want to be seen, you know, to be heard. He's like, cause I'm a black man. Like I understand those struggles. And like for anyone to understand those like struggles is like minorities and black people,
He
you know?
literally says like, "Don't talk to me about like not understanding." Like he said, I forgot what he said. He said, I know people in Brooklyn who wear dresses just to feel safe or something like that." And you know, it's really powerful stuff about how like, of course, black people can relate to a lot of the to everything pretty much, you know, in certain aspects to the LGBT community, and yet they're kind of like they kind of like distance themselves, you know.
Yeah.
Patty with the Fatty said, "I remember the word triggered was the first form of cancel culture that I remember." Do you remember that?
Triggered? Like I feel triggered. Like I'm triggered. I'm
Oh,
triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah. It means like there's certain words that you can't say or else you're gonna trigger somebody's trauma.
Do you think cancel culture will ever go away?
Um, to me, I have a weird thing about how I think about cancel culture. I feel like when people say it doesn't exist, I don't think that's true. It exists to a degree. I think
Yeah.
it does. Like
Mhm.
people lose their jobs and people
Yeah.
lose their thing. I think it's so weird because people are like, nah, but like they're still breathing though. I mean,
Yeah.
like people want like execution basically.
Yeah.
When that's like to them that when that happens, that's true cancel culture.
Yeah.
Because they want people to lose their money, lose everything that they
Yeah.
have.
Mhm.
And to me, it's a little weird because some people are like, cancel culture doesn't truly exist because, like I
Well, people
said,
say it's like I've heard people say that like people talk about cancel culture. It's like it's not just holding people accountable. And I feel like to agree, yeah, there's parts of it that like, yeah, you got to be accountable for things you say and things you do because your actions have consequences, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, it's a different degree when, like how you said, where people genuinely wish malintent on
Yeah.
these people. And I've never liked, you know me, I never liked that wishing bad things on people, irrespective of who they are. And I know everybody's gonna be like, well, you wouldn't wish any bad on Hitler. And I'm like, grow up, bro. It's obviously different. But yeah, I feel like it's akin to like bullying, like almost
Yeah.
like bullying someone to the point of like, you know what I mean?
because well, I mentioned this in an earlier podcast that anytime somebody gets canceled or like a barrage of people start like hating on this person for a specific reason, and though sometimes it's reasonable, sometimes the backlash is almost so ugly, and some of the things that they say and do is so ugly to me. To me, the backlash is almost uglier than whatever the initial action was done.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
I
to
agree.
me, that's why cancel culture has always been really dis distasteful to me
Yeah.
because I don't understand the whole like why would you stoop to their level?
Yeah,
Why would
I
you
agree.
why would you muddle yourself? Because then now the world is just filled with people who are hateful and only want
Yeah.
bad things to happen to everybody.
An eye for an eye makes the world go blind.
Yeah.
Right? Then like, well, I agree. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole
Yeah.
like the bringing up like, oh, would you wish that on Hitler? Like,
Yeah.
that's such a straw man like
Yeah, I
argument.
agree.
Like bringing something that's irrelevant into the argument, like it is different. That
It is
doesn't.
different.
Like Hitler was
Hitler
literally
killed millions of people. You don't
Yeah.
see how that's different than someone saying something a little ignorant. And if you can't see that, then I think you're just as bad, because it's like,
Yeah.
because it's
how
like
are you helping? Like,
Yeah.
it's like there's degrees and like dynamics to everything. Like
Mhm.
because
if I said something that was extremely racist and ignorant, and you're like, bro, like you're fucking like you're evil,
you're a
this,
piece of shit,
you're
kill
like
yourself,
you're basically
fucking-
Hitler. And
Yeah,
I'd
it's
be like
I don't
I'd be like, bro, what? Like
Yeah.
that's not any to any degree. I get it. Maybe what I said came from like a place of ignorance and I'm not educated in it. But like to basically equate me to a
Yeah.
dictator that
Yeah.
murdered millions, that ordered to
Yeah.
murder millions,
Yeah.
I'd be like, that makes
But
no
it's like,
sense.
it's also like, I've always felt that like, I feel personally, just my opinion, is that I feel hate is learned. I think it's learned. I think the judging some, like, obviously there's certain things that, like, I'm sure developed in evolution. Like, you look a little different than me. Can I trust you? You know what I mean? Like, if this is hunter gatherer. But I think the point where, like, I think you're less than me. Like, I think you don't deserve rights. I think you don't deserve this. I think you don't deserve to get married. And all that. I think it's learned. And because it's learned, I feel like you can change. And I know a lot of people always go, well, it's not my responsibility to, like,
to educate you.
but it's
You know,
like, I'm not saying that that's what you have to do. It's more like, I don't know.
No, I get
I
what
feel
you're
like
saying.
if there's like 99 people who are extremely, like, ignorant and racist, and you can get one of them over to your side by saying, hey, like, look at it this way, man. Like, that makes a difference to me. Instead of saying
Yeah.
all of you are pieces of shit, fuck all of you, go kill yourselves.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's like we should educate each other and kind of like just have an open mind.
Mhm.
Like, instead of being so close-minded and so stuck in just one thing, it would be nice to like just listen,
yeah.
just listen. And if you can agree with me or you can disagree with me, as long as you just listen to me and what I have to say.
And I know we're kind of running out of time, but I just want to say I feel like that's kind of like what comedy does. Is it makes the very scary and hard to talk about things more palatable. It makes it say, hey, like, you can joke about it, like, we can talk about it, like, it doesn't have to be so serious. Like, you can deliver some things in a way that isn't like like, you know how when you can tell somebody they're wrong and they're not going to listen to you now, and like that. But comedy has always been like, hey, like, I'm open to talk about it in a way, like, I'm laughing about it. That means I'm so open about it that you can ask whatever you want and joke about it. Like, look at how absurd the social constructs we create are. Look at how absurd it is that we treat each other like we're different when we're all just people. Look at how absurd this is. And if you can't talk about that, then you're, like, in my opinion, making it worse, but that's just my opinion.
I think that's a great note to end on, man. Thanks to everyone who's listening. Thanks to everyone who will listen in the future.
Thanks, Patty with the Fatty. We have a special episode next week.
Oh yeah, a return
of the podcast.
Y'all already know.
We do that every 10 episodes. It's gonna be a great episode. We're gonna have our special guest back, Israel. He always
brings the party.
He always brings the party with him. So it'll be a great episode. So you guys should tune in. We're gonna have
Y'all should join us.
Bunch of laughs, a bunch of goofs,
bring some flowers.
So you can
bring some flowers.
if you want to join us, party at home and listen, go ahead and do that. But go ahead and take it easy this weekend, guys. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, guys.
Happy have a safe and happy Halloween, guys.
Stay safe, y'all. Hope y'all have fun.
See you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, now special YouTube content.
Okay. Baba Booey.
What do
you guys get this week?
Okay, so would you guys press the snail button? Where
are you talking about that
the
meme
where it's like, would you press the button?
You live forever.
You live forever, but a snail is always chasing you. If the snail touches you, you die, and the snail's also immortal. Would you press the button?
So I'm pressing the button for what?
Immortality.
You can live forever, but a snail's gonna follow you for the rest of time.
Until he touches me.
Yeah, and if he touches you, I mean, he's not a superpowered snail. He's gonna always
until he touches me, he'll kill me.
Yeah, like you can be here,
you die instantly.
Like, let's say it's here and the snail's right there. You can fly to Africa, and then, like, you'll be there for like a few months. Eventually, the snail's gonna show up. Would you press it?
Yeah. Because then I could die. I could just be like, hey, touch me.
I could die.
Then, you could live like 100 years, be like, I'm done. Like,
yeah, I'm done. Touch me.
Yeah, why not? I'm done.
I think the only thing that gets me is because they add that you die a horrible death. So I'm kind of like, what does that mean though? Like, I'm gonna burn?
I don't know.
Like,
it's
I get a heart
instant.
attack?
No, the question says instant.
It says you die a horrible death.
I thought it says instant.
Positive.
We'll look this up after, but we both
what
said,
what do you guys think? What do you guys think?
Well, if it's not
Leave
horrible,
it in the comments.
if it's not horrible death, I agree with Julie.
It's kind of funny because anybody who's watching, there's one viewer watching, and like we already ended the radio show, so like this is just like full on
special content.
Like all they left, they were like, "Fuck you."
Fuck you. Boring.
All right, I'll see you guys.
See you guys later, YouTube.
All right, see ya. Bye.
I like that we do that. We should always have like